Hi, welcome to My Little Paintbrush. I'm Sarah, and today we get to paint the adorable owl, one of my favorite paintings. I hope you enjoy it. We are going to be going at a steady pace today, so feel free to pause and take a minute to catch up if you need to. You can also rewind and go back if you missed a step. The whole point of this is for you to enjoy yourself and learn a few new things as we go. We have a couple brushes we'll be using. I have a large flat brush, a small flat brush, and then a detail brush. These are all I'll need today for this, but you can use whatever works for you. I also have 2 jars of water. One's for rinsing, one's for double checking, and a napkin handy. All of my paint has been separated, so it looks like this. All laid out for me. Notice I've put my paint, my white paint, in 3 separate piles. This just helps me not contaminate them all at once and gives me more options down the road as we are creating this owl, okay? So I want you to take first your largest flat brush, and we're gonna put it in water to start with. And just shake it out. We want our bristles to be damp. I just tap off the water, okay? And we're gonna mix our owl color first. To make my owl color, I'm going to use some brown and yellow and white, okay? So let's go ahead and just grab some brown and place it in the center here. Then I'm gonna add a touch of yellow at a time and stir it in there with my brown. I just love the way it looks when I add yellow to my brown. You can obviously change this. If you get to decide what shade you want your owl. That's what makes creating so fun. It's completely up to you. And you can see now that I'm adding some white to it as well. And I'm gonna mix that and just see how I like the shade. And right now I'm thinking, I need a little more brown. So I'm gonna add some more brown to that, just to darken it up a little bit. Make sure you mix quite a bit. You have a large owl here to paint, and we don't wanna try and match our paint later. So I always try to mix quite a bit. Here we go, let's add some more brown to that. I don't think I need more yellow. I like the way that looks. So just kind of gauge it off of your preference and what you prefer, okay? But always add white. White is super important. So now that I have mixed my owl color, I'm gonna start at the top of the head and just fill it in here. Trying to be careful not to paint inside the eye, but if we accidentally paint inside the eye, it's not a big deal. It's okay, we can come back to it later. But I'm gonna try and go around that circle as best I can, smoothing out my paint as I go. And you'll notice for the hair that comes up here, the feather up by the hat, I'm turning my brush and using the toe of my brush. That's the tippy point of my brush, okay? To get that little corner. And as I come around the owl's head, I'm gonna try not to pick up my brush. That takes a lot of practice. So it's just something to try. Okay, I'm gonna go around the eye here. It's a big circle. And again, it's okay if you accidentally paint inside the eye. Not a big deal. We'll paint it white later. I'm just gonna get as close as I can to that circle. And sometimes it takes a minute. You have to go a little slow. This is definitely gonna warm you up, painting around the eye and filling in this owl. Let me come around this way. It's not a perfect circle. Circles are tricky. Okay. So now that I've gone around the eye, I'm now gonna paint around my beak. And we can, again, we'll fix the shape and everything later. Acrylic paint is all about layers and trusting the process. We're gonna be adding more and more to our painting as we go. Okay, so this is just the start of it. You just have to trust it as you go here. There may come a time where you don't like the way it's turning out, and that's where you have to just keep going and trust that it's gonna all come together. I'm gonna come around the other eye now. And also keep in mind that brown usually takes 2 layers. Okay, anytime you use this acrylic paint with brown, it just seems to be that way. We usually need 2 layers. So I'm not worried too much about it. If I see those brush strokes or it seems too thin to me right now, that's completely normal. We're gonna let this layer dry and you can come back and put another layer on in a minute. So we're going to come around the other side of the face here, filling that in. Trying not to pick up my brush too much as I wrap it around. There we go. And you can see I painted inside my eye a little bit. Not too worried about it. Okay, so this is just the top of the shirt here. So we're just going to complete that outline and come all the way across the shirt there. And you can change this shirt if you want to. Change the sleeves, make it yours. That's one thing we love about art, right? Everyone's unique, everyone creates differently, so you can change it as we go. So now that I have the first layer on my head painted, okay, here are my sleeves for my shirt right here. And the rest are feathers right underneath. So I'm going to go ahead now and put those in. And I'm using the toe of my brush to do that. You can use a smaller brush if it's easier for you. I'm just going to wrap those feathered arms around here, brushing down, curving my brush stroke. Okay, it's going to tuck behind the shirt right here, so don't worry too much about that. And now I'm going to add the other sleeve. I'm going to try and make them somewhat even, but it's okay if they aren't. Not a big deal. Those little things are what make it so cute and unique. So now I'm going to brush down and fill in those feathers as well, all the way to the edge of the shirt right there. Okay, just like that. Okay, now you can go back up to your head and look and see if you need another layer. If you do and your head is dry enough, you can go ahead and just brush that in. It'll go in a lot faster this time because you already have all that detail work done around the eyes. So you're just going to quickly fill in any spots. But if it's not dry and it needs a minute, give it a minute to dry because you'll just keep picking up your paint. And it may get a little frustrating for you. So mine is dry. I can go ahead now and put another layer on. But feel free to just pause and wait just a minute. You'll be so much happier if you do, because you'll just keep picking up that paint. Okay, so I'm going to paint around the beak. Come right up here, fill that in. Now, I also love to do something called floating, and some of our older artists do this with us. I'm going to show you how to do it, but there are two options. So you can float or you can outline, whatever you prefer. So I'll show you both ways, okay? So floating is when I just add a dark shade or shadow using my flat brush. So I'm going to take my flat brush here, still full of my owl brown color, and I'm going to put a dark shade of brown on the very corner of my brush, just the corner. Okay, and as I brush, you'll see that that darker shade kind of fades into my lighter shade. Okay, you can also do this with a detail or line brush and just go along the edges with your line brush. That works great too. Or you can try this. See if you like it. So I'm going to go along the edges just with my darker shade of brown. And one thing I love about floating is you don't have to have perfect lines. It can be perfectly imperfect with how it is placed on the head. So just right along the edges there. I'm not too worried about it. Okay, and right underneath the hat, you can see I'm putting that darker brown under the hat. That's going to give us a little bit of a shadow. So I'm placing that darker shade of brown up under the hat, okay, all the way across here to the other side. That's going to give the illusion of a shadow, which gives our painting some dimension. Now I'm going to come around the other cheek here with that darker brown facing out, right? There we go. Come right along there, all the way across the bottom of the face. There you have it, okay? And that just adds a little bit, right? I'm going to do it as well over here with the arms, just along the edges and under the sleeves. Very optional. Don't have to do this if you prefer not to. It's just something a little extra and fun to add to your painting. Okay. So now that we have that done, let's see. I have all my layers on. I feel good about that. If you're happy with it, let's rinse our brush. I'm ready to move on. So I'm going to rinse my brush. Okay. There we go. Nice and clean. Okay, so now we're going to paint our background while our owl is drying. Let's just take a touch of yellow, and I'm going to mix it with a lot of paint. I'm going to create a very light, buttery yellow background, okay? So I've added some yellow, and I'm mixing it here with my white. I'm going to get that buttery yellow. Now I want it a little bit darker, so I'm just going to add a touch more yellow to that. You can have it a lot brighter, or you can change the color, right? You have several colors here to choose from, so feel free to change the color. Let's just start at the top of our canvas, and we're going to fill this in. I'm carefully going around my hat and my owl, since my owl is drying. Okay, we're going to come here all the way down. And one thing we also encourage our artists to do is something called wrapping our canvas. And that's where you'll reach up high and paint the edges and the sides and the bottom of your canvas. So it just looks nice on all the sides as well. So that's something you can do while you're painting up high. You can reach up tall and paint the top of your canvas if you would like. But I'm going to fill this in, and you'll notice I'm not getting very close to my owl, right? I'm keeping a little bit of space there and just filling in my canvas. You want to make sure you brush out all your paint and not have any pockets of white showing. And if you do, add a little bit of water to your paint. Water's your best friend. Okay, I always like to check it and make sure my paint isn't seizing up on me. Now I'm going to put a little white on the corner of my brush, just like that, with my yellow. And again, like we did with the owl, I'm going to float that white up close to my owl. And what that does is it gives it a little bit of a glow and also makes it a lot easier for you. So you don't have to worry about those perfect edges. It just does that for you. So I like to get up there, clean up the owl's edges, but not worry too much about it. It's okay if some of your canvas is showing around your owl. That white gives your painting a little bit of a glow as well as draws attention to it. Okay, I'm going to come around here, and you can leave some highlighted brush strokes in your background if you like it by brushing in white. I'll do that in a minute. Right now I'm just going to get up close to my hat, keep dipping the white on the corner of my brush and floating those edges. I'm going to come around this side, trying not to get inside the owl's head as best I can. We can clean it up later if you need to, though. Okay, come all the way down, just like that. Make sure the other side is good. Okay, now if you want to add some little streaks of white, just brush them in with the white on your brush, just like that. Give your owl some texture on that background. It also makes the owl look like he's moving a little bit or she's moving. Okay, perfect. All right, now while we're using our yellow, I'm going to go ahead and mix the color for my beak and the stripe on my hat. So I have my yellow here. I'm just going to make it a little darker. And then I'm going to add a touch of pink, which gives it a slightly orange shade, which is what I like. So I'm just going to add a touch of pink at a time because it will quickly take over. There we go. So you can kind of decide how dark you want it. Okay, let's paint our beak first. Your owl should be dry, so you should be able to go right in here now and fill in your beak. And it's basically two triangles stacked on top of each other, but the edges are rounded out. Okay, so if you lost your beak a little bit, just stack two triangles on top of each other and you'll have it. Here we go, come up. I'm gonna curve it out there on the bottom, just like that. Okay, now let's do the stripe on our hat. I'm gonna do it this same yellowish orange. You can change this color up if you'd like. I'm just gonna brush back and forth using both sides of my bristles to fill that in. Very important that you try and use both sides of your bristles. And you know what? It's okay if you paint outside the lines here. That's why I like doing this right now, because that black will cover everything. The black for your hat. And you don't have to worry about it. It will cover it. Okay, so I'm gonna brush that in. Perfect, there you go, just like that. Nothing really to that, right? We're just filling in that line and not worrying too much about whether it's perfect or not. Let's rinse our brush now. Get that all clean. Okay, and now we're just gonna let that dry for a minute. I'm gonna double check my brush because now I'm gonna use some white. And I'm going to paint the white in my eyes. So right here, we have white circles, and this is where you can clean it up. So if you accidentally painted inside the eyes, you can fix it. Oh, I got a little drip right there, huh? There we go, just brush it out. Okay. So I'm gonna carefully, as careful as I can, try not to pick up my brush and spin, it's all on my wrist. Go right around there. Create the best circle I can, but it's a painting, not a print, right? So it's okay. It's all right. Doesn't need to be perfect. Okay, so now we're gonna do the other one as well. Oop. I'm gonna just cover up some of the brown because I accidentally painted inside, right? And maybe you don't need to do this. Maybe your canvas and eyes are already white. You don't need to cover anything up. I usually do. I usually paint inside of them. So I always go back. Just clean up those edges. There we go. Circle it out, right? Got a little drip though on mine. There we go. Gonna grab that drip, try it again. Here we go. Go around the edges. There we go. Brush it out. Get ready for some color. In just a minute. Okay, we're gonna let that dry for a minute. And then we're also gonna go paint our arms, our sleeves over here. So I'm just gonna come down here to my sleeves and fill them in. I have 2 white sleeves here. Feel free to change that color, right? Definitely can change that color. Shape out your sleeves. Do both of them. I got them as even as I could, but I'm not too worried if it's a little off. There we go. And there you have it. Let's let those eyes dry. I don't think I need another layer. I think I'm okay. You can check, and if you feel like you need another layer, go ahead and put those on there. Totally up to you. Okay, so we're gonna let those eyes dry for just a minute. Rinse our brush, and let's mix some turquoise. Okay, so now I'm gonna take my turquoise here that I'm gonna put inside my eyes and on my shirt. I'm gonna add some white to it, very important. And you can kind of get the shade that you want. So the more white you add, of course, the lighter it'll be. So you can kind of play with it a little bit and see which you prefer. I wanted a lighter turquoise, and I'm just gonna start by painting the bottom part of my shirt on my owl, okay? I'm gonna brush back and forth, fill it in here, all the way across so it looks like those little feathered arms are being tucked behind the shirt. So I come all the way around. and it's not a perfect shape here. Okay, it's slightly off on purpose. And come all the way across there. There we go. So cute. There it is, right there. Okay, now I can also take some of the darker shade on the corner of my brush here and brush the edges with that darker shade of turquoise. See that? Just to add different shades on the shirt. Darken it up if you want. There you go. Okay, let's let that dry and go ahead and paint our eyes. Now I'm going to switch brushes and just use a smaller flat, or you could use a round brush. Whatever works for you to do the center of the eye. So I'm going to use a smaller flat, mix it with that same shade of turquoise. And I'm now going to come in here and paint the smaller circle inside my eye. I'm trying not to pick up my brush as I spin it around there. Again, it's not very easy to do. Take some practice, so be nice to yourself as you learn. Okay, we're going to come do this other side. Wrap it around to meet that edge. Perfect, just like that. Let that dry. Let's go do our other side. I'm going to try and go around that edge. Just like that. And if you accidentally paint inside the middle, it's okay. It's going to be black. Okay, and then we're going to do this inside edge too. Okay, now we've got to come around that edge, meet the other side. Oh. Smeared it just a little bit, huh? There we go. Just gotta fix it. You can always go back with some brown and touch it up if you need to. It's always options. Looks pretty good though. Okay, now I am going to put a little bit of white on the corner of my brush, and I like to put light in the eye, just along the edges there, to brighten up the eye. It's not needed, okay, and you can highlight it later if you want to. We'll do that later. But I also do this to save me from putting really another layer on. I don't want to take the time to do that, but I want a little more light in my eyes. Just dust that in. And there you go. Okay, we're gonna let those eyes dry now. Give them just a minute. Let's rinse our brush and go back to our shirt. Okay, so I'm gonna double check, make sure my brush is really clean, because turquoise and pink will give you purple. And that works if you want to do that. You can change up your colors. I'm going to have this pink shirt, so I'm going to mix white with a little bit of pink to start with, just to make sure I get the shade I want. Okay, I like that shade. So now let's go ahead and just fill in our shirt. And I really try to brush side to side on this shirt. Side to side. That makes our owl look more round rather than straight up and down. I'm going to go side to side. Okay, filling that in. And then we'll float it as well. So I'm not going to rinse my brush. You can outline or float the edges with me. Okay, so I'm going to paint as far over as I like. Make sure your brush is a little bit damp. It's kind of important when you're floating. And then let's put some of that dark shade of pink on the corner. And to put a shadow just under the chin, we're going to float that darker shade of pink right along the edge of the chin there. That, and then along those edges, facing that darker shade of pink out. Laying my brush flat as I go. And come and do the other side down as well. And this way, you don't have to outline or anything if you don't want to, or You can take a detail brush and you can give the edges a dark shade with your detail brush. Whatever is easier for you. Okay, and now I'll do a little more here along the bottom of the shirt as well, right along the turquoise. And your floating can be thin or it can be really thick. It's completely up to you and your brush stroke and what works for you and what you like. There's no right or wrong way really with floating. Once you get that technique, you'll know and you'll love it. It can definitely be a thicker line there, down here at the bottom and around. Just depends on how much you put on your brush. Okay. Okay, there we go. And that's it. Now that our shirt is all painted, let's go ahead and put a pink heart up here. Now, if you don't want the heart on your hat, the awesome thing with this one is you can just paint right over the hat. The heart on the hat. See that? You can paint right over it with the black and just not do it at all. Or you can fill it in here. I like to spin around with my brush there, starting at the bottom corner, following it around. It's all in the wrist. Fill in that shape. And then we'll just let it dry for a minute. And you are about done. We're going to do our finish up work and our highlighting. And you've painted the owl. So let's let that dry a second. I'm going to rinse my brush here. Okay, and now we get to do the black. So we're going to start with the eyes just while our heart dries for a minute. Okay, and we're going to do the center of our eyes with black. So my brush is a little damp because you don't want your black to be super thick. It'll seize up on you. So I'm going to put some black on my bristles here. And the trick to doing a circle is to load your brush with your paint, place it next to the edge of your circle, and then spin your brush around, following that edge. See, I'm trying not to pick it up, okay? And that's gonna help you get your circle shape. I'm gonna come back here, lay my brush down, follow my edge with my brush, trying not to pick it up. Just following that edge. And that'll give you the cleanest shape. Now, Cami does this a little bit different, and I'm going to show you her way. Because everyone does it a little bit different, and they work great. Okay. So now we've done that eye. This is how Miss Cami does it. So she places her brush and creates a C. Okay. A C shape halfway, and then she comes around and does the other side to match. And that works great too, and fill that in. So if you need to pick up your brush, just connect two moons together, or two C shapes, and that'll give you a really nice circle. Okay, I'll fill those in. Now let's let those eyes dry and go ahead and paint our hat. So I'm adding a little bit of water to my black. It's starting to get thick on me. So make sure you check that, okay? Let's start at the top and just brush up right off your canvas. Trying not to pick up our brush. Filling that in. And the top of our hat kind of loops down into a smile and back up and around. You can, of course, change that and make it a square shape if you want to. We've had lots of artists do that too, and it's super cute. There we go. Paint right around here. Now, as you get close to your heart, you're going to want to slow down, right? And remember, if you accidentally paint inside the heart, it's okay. Okay, you can go back and fill it in later. It's not a big deal to do that. I'm just as careful as I can, and then if I need to go back, do any touch-ups, I can do that. Okay. Come down and up and around. Trying to get up close to the edge of that heart. There we go. Perfect. And let it be. So we're going to go back and darken the edges. Okay, let's do along the line of our stripe here. And try and use the toe of my brush. It gives me a much cleaner edge to go straight across with. Fill that in. All the way to the edge there. There we go. Now we'll do the bottom part. Wraps around here. And again, I'm going to use the toe of my brush to do this very edge here. Turn your brush and use the toe. And I'm going to swoop it straight across as best I can without picking it up. Ooh, not bad. Right off the canvas there. Have to come down just a little bit right there, line it up. Lines are just always a little tricky. You just have to try and balance that brush best you can. Okay. Come down the edge here. And I'm going to use a detail brush in a minute to clean things up, so don't worry about that too much right now. Right now you're just getting that color on. Oh no, I flicked black onto my owl. Not good. It's okay. We will get it. We'll get it. To add a little brown right there or something. Got a smudge now. Okay, let's brush out this hat. All the way off. Okay, now we're done with this brush. We're gonna rinse it out and switch to our detail brush for our detail work. First, I'm gonna do that right there. So just grab some of that brown that you have. This happens to you. I'm just gonna brush it out. Let it dry and use a little bit of our beak color to fix the beak. It happens. It happens. There we go. Just cover it up best we can for now, right? Okay, so let's let this dry. I'm gonna use my detail brush, put it in some water. And first, let's take some black, stir some water in with our black, get it nice and thin so it's a little bit inky. Okay, just like that. Okay, and we're just gonna do a little bit of outlining. So I'm gonna start from top to bottom so I don't smear my hand in the paint. And right here you can see I didn't finish my hat, so I'm just gonna come across there. It's easier with my detail brush to clean that up, so I just chose to wait and finish that edge. You may not have, and that's great. Whatever works for you. Okay, and we'll clean up our heart and everything in a minute. Let's go ahead and do this little corner here, I'm just going to outline quickly these edges. Just like that. And the trick to outlining is really your water consistency. You want to make sure you have enough water in your black that it flows like ink for you. So important, okay? So if it's not flowing easily for you, you probably need a little more water. Now I'm going to give myself some little sprigs of hair up here. You just take your brush and press and lighten your brush pressure as you come away, curving your brush in a, I'll say a rainbow shape, just like that. So I'm curving it in a rainbow, and you can put as many as you want on here. Some can be long, some short. It's just really cute either way. So don't worry too much. There's no right or wrong way to do that. It's just kind of fun. Okay. Now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead now and let's see, before I start outlining the bottom of the head and everything, I want to do my eyes and my lashes because I don't want to smear those, and my eyes are dry enough that I can do that. So let's go ahead and put some eyelids on. Now our eyelids start a little bit just inside our second circle here, our blue, and comes right around the top just to this outside edge, okay? So I like to start and go from left to right. That's easier for me, but if you want to start from the inside of the eye, you can do that. I'm going to start here, and first I'll start by just pressing my brush as I come around, thickening that line, and then it gets thinner as I come down, okay? And I'm going to go back and thicken it up now. So now that I have my outline, I'm going to give more of an eyelid here, coming up and around and down, okay? It's like that. So you can keep on going around here and changing that to whatever you like best. You could have more of an eyelid or less, completely up to you. It's different whenever I do it. So now let's go do it with our other eye to just kind of even it out here. There we go. And it's kind of tucked behind the hat, right? So don't have to worry too much about what that looks like because it's tucked. We're just going to try and even it out a little bit. There, perfect. Okay, and now let's give ourselves some eyelashes. So this one here just has a couple that are going up into a smile shape underneath the hat, just like that. So I just curve my brush. These will look different for everybody. Let's do it on the other eye as well. So I have 3 on this one. So I'm going to start just a little higher with the first one. Curve it up in a smile shape. And then we'll do another one right underneath, just like that. And then we'll do one more that's a little smaller. So cute, right? I love it. Okay, so let's let that dry. And now I'm just going to add a little smile in the middle of my beak here. It's a happy owl. Okay. And then let's go ahead and outline a little bit under the chin. And again, I'm going to try and go as far as I can with this black. And if I run out, I know I don't have enough water in my black. It should flow very nice for me. Okay, now I'm going to just add a little bit on this side. I don't go all the way across with my black. It's just to give the illusion of a shadow. Doesn't need to be perfect. Now I am going to outline the sleeves because they are white and I want them to show up. So I'm outlining a little more of my sleeves there. I'm going to do it with the other side as well here. Down and then just a little bit on the sleeve and the inside of the shirt. So cute. Okay. All right, now let's do just a little bit down here on the bottom and the sides to show some separation there. Right? A little bit of a shadow. Cute. Cute, cute. Okay, let's add some feathers. The idea of feathers here. Tucking behind our shirt. Do this side as well. Love it. Little stroke there. You can just kind of have fun with this. Okay, now to show the creases just along the bottom of our shirt here. Whoop. There we go. Just gonna take our detail brush and just brush some lines coming straight down. Like that. No perfect way to do it. You're just putting them on there just to show that the shirt has those little creases in it. Cute, I love it. Okay, we're gonna let that dry. Now I'm gonna come up here to my heart and just shape my heart out a little bit. Okay, I want it to be a little cleaner and my hat is dry now, so I can do that with my detail brush. So feel free to do that if you need to just shape it out a little bit. I like to just take my detail brush and go around the edges. So nice, right? There we go. I love it so much. I feel like we're about there. Let's just do our white highlights. Now to do the light in the eyes, I like to take the back of a brush, so I turn it upside down, dip it in some white, get a good amount. I call it a chocolate chip, okay? And I'm gonna press where I want that. So I get a stamp, and then I'm gonna spin it a little bit, make it a little bigger. It's a much easier way to get a pretty good circle without working too hard. I'm gonna do that in the other eye too. So I'm just gonna come over here and press, and then spin my brush a little bit until I get the size of circle I like. Try and match them up as best I can. So cute, right? And then let's do our highlighting. So highlighting, I just float it. You can also take a line brush to do it. I'm gonna take my flat brush, put some white on the corner, just like that. And I'll show you how we highlight. See how this is an easy spot to start. You're just gonna brush a little bit of light, curving it. Okay, it shows off the shirt. It shows off that curve so it doesn't look so flat. Okay, put a little bit there as well. And then we'll go ahead and come up to the hat. And I'll show you here, right along the top, we'll show off where the light is maybe touching our painting. Just like that. A little bit in the yellow as well. And just along the rim here. Just like that. Okay, and then here, to show that the hat is curving a little bit, I'm just gonna brush it around, do a little bit of a hook shape, see that? I may even thin that out with black, because I don't want it that thick, but I'll give it a minute. And then we'll do a little bit of light here, and along the cheek. There we go. And then in the eye, if you want to, you can add a little more light just inside the eye. I love that. There's still some black showing on my beak, but that's okay. It's all right. It's pretty cute. I love it. So right here, if I were to take some black and just thin that out, you can just add black to your brush like that and thin it out. Love it. And there you have it, guys. Oh, we have one more little highlight, and it's in the heart. So I'm just going to do a little bit here. Just like that. Curve it out. And it's so cute. I love it. Last thing we want to encourage you to do is sign your name Own your work. Be proud of it because you did an amazing job. So I'm going to find a little spot and just put my signature. Use a detail brush. You can put your name, your initials, anything that represents you as an artist. And thank you for painting with us. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Please give us a thumbs up and come back for more another time. We'll see you later.